All right, here we are, back in the fall, night or day before the weekend before the Browns kick off their season. Joining me tonight on the NC Speakeasy, it's the Chris Sandwich. I'm in the middle, although I'm on the far east. On the far west coast, we have Chris Green. Chris, how you doing?
I'm good, John. How are you?
Good. And then on the far west side of Cleveland, we have Chris the Kid. How are you, Chris?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good, good.
I was doing great until John called us a Chris Sandwich.
Yeah, I'm a sandwich. I know. Right until that point, I was great. All right, so what's been happening, guys?
Well, I'm getting.
Guys, okay?
I'm
All right.
still here. You here, John?
Yeah, I'm just getting duplicate. I'm getting a repeat.
Of?
I only hear you once.
I only hear you once, too. Are you on delay?
Yeah.
I shouldn't be.
I know you shouldn't be, but are you actually on delay is what I'm asking.
I don't know what's going on because I'm hearing everything say.
Maybe you turn off the speakers and just use the headphones.
What's that?
Maybe you should turn off the speakers on the laptop and just use your headphones.
Well, let me try that. Well, then I don't hear anything.
Well, nobody was talking.
Nobody was talking, so we were talking.
All right, well, I'm going to turn them off now. Let's see what happens.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see if that's any better. Any better?
Can you hear us? Testing.
Yes.
Hello?
Nope.
Echo.
Making for great radio.
Yes. Click.
Click, click.
All right, how's this now?
I hear
I
you
hear
fine.
you fine.
Do you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Can you hear us?
Nope.
Uh,
All right, now what? Do you hear me?
we
Yeah.
hear you fine.
We hear you fine.
Okay. Well, let's try to go through this thing. I don't know what it is. It's been such a while since we've done this. Who knows what we're doing at this point?
Hmm.
All right. So, where were we when we started? Okay.
Well, let's let's recap what we've missed this summer. So we've got the Indians president is going to Toronto. The Francisco Lindor finally came up. About 4 months too late.
At least 60 games, right?
At
Yeah,
least 60 games.
exactly. The Browns still suck. And let's see. Farmer was suspended beforehand. What else happened since then?
Then you had a coach suspended.
Oh yeah, we got the coach who tried
Someone
to
said
choke
we had
out his
Someone says we got the trifecta: player, coach, and GM all
All
suspended.
suspended at once,
Yeah.
yeah. Took me a little while to remember that the player was Josh Gordon, so
Yeah.
frankly. 'cause,
Who?
He's been suspended since last year, so it's...
A couple of years. I mean,
Yeah.
did those games he actually played in last year really count, considering he did nothing?
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that it was so long, I was like, who the heck got suspended? And then when I heard him say on the radio it was Josh Gordon, I was like, oh, yeah, that's right, he is. I'd forgotten we had him. He's
Yeah.
tucked away in a cocoon somewhere, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they can get his head on straight. But, yeah, I mean, it was... Indian season went exactly as I described it. It was going
Oh,
to...
wait. We did have one thing that ended painfully that we missed. The end of the Cavs season.
Oh yeah, I mean it was sad that they
That's-
lost. The run was nice, but yeah, obviously we would like it to end in a championship. But
Considering
you
what
know,
happened,
Well,
I'm still shocked they made it as far as they did.
I would agree that.
Absolutely. I mean, you take two of those guys off of this lineup, and then you have nothing else to give James any kind of offensive support. And he did a tremendous job as much as he could, but it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean
you
they
can't
made
fault him.
So we'll see what they. We'll see what they. It takes. It's more than just talent. You got to have a good team and some other stuff. So I will.
And you don't have to have injuries.
Right. I mean, you got to be a little luck.
That's the neutralizer for any type of team event is an injury. And we had
All right, who is the rubber duck?
It's my damn dog.
It's your dog.
Yeah, we got a dog, a puppy.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, and she's got the
Squeaky toy.
Squeaky. It's like a stuffed animal skunk or raccoon. I'm sorry, raccoon, and it squeaks. I was trying to get a hold of her. It's a Beagalier, so it's part beagle and part king whatever spaniel. So it's a cute dog, but it's the kid's dog. They saved up money from Christmas and First Communion to buy the dog. So
Oh, isn't that sweet?
$1,000 dog, man. That's a lot.
Holy shit!
Yeah, it's a lot for a dog. So
Hey, there's no dog worth a grand. I'm sorry.
They won't. Well, they learned the value of money, I guess. So, but yeah, that's her chewing on the thing.
And she'll probably destroy more than $1,000 worth of stuff in the house.
Oh, she already did. She already did, as a matter of fact. We're already well past that, as a matter of fact. So, but it's my wife says, "What kind of kid can't grow up without a dog?" I'm like, "How about my kid? We'll give it a try." But I got ruled out.
Yeah,
So.
there's always a first, right, Chris?
Right. I was like, so. Anyways, it's a good dog, I guess, as for best dogs go.
So before we get to the Browns, since they're going to be kicking off on Sunday, a little recap on that Ohio State win.
Yeah, I have some hostility towards some of the people in this town about some of the stuff that went on. Look, all right, they won. Meyer picked the quarterback with the least amount of eligibility, I guess. That was the reasoning, I guess. Obviously, it's not by talent because that guy is nowhere near as talented as the other guy. And I don't think you need to be a genius to look at it to see that Barrett is a better quarterback. Jones is big, and yeah, he's got the big arm and he can throw the ball a ways, but he's pretty inaccurate, and he makes a lot of rash decisions. And I didn't think he looked so good, frankly.
Well,
he's raw.
He is super raw. He's not raw. He's super raw.
Mm-hmm.
And having to listen to the next day of all this, there's going to be
Fail
a
for
first
Cardale.
round.
Yeah.
If he played every single game Ohio State has this year, he's going to play in a grand total of 17 college games.
Yeah.
17.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
At the quarterback position.
Right. That is that's 8 or 9 games less than Manziel, right? You figure he must have played about 25 games or so because he easily played 2 seasons.
Yeah, he played 2 seasons. He redshirted one,
so
played
25,
2 seasons.
26 games he had. And that's not, even there, it's not enough. I mean, typically, look at the guys at the top. We're talking about elite quarterbacks. All these guys, they all played 3 seasons. Brady, all them guys, they started for 3. The Bill Parcells model still holds true. The guy goes to college for 4 years. He plays for 3 years. You just can't get away from the experience. They need to learn how to read and react to NFL players and figure when they play games, no matter how good it is, there's only 2 or 3 guys with NFL speed on any defense they play.
Right.
So you cut down this number of games, the experience they have of going against faster NFL caliber players is pretty low. And it's going to show like crazy. let alone the fact that he's a couple months older than Manziel, but he's pretty immature. And you're going to turn over $1 billion franchise? I find it really hard to believe that.
He won't. He won't. I guarantee you, regardless if he's the number 1 pick next year, he won't be starting next year.
No.
Oh, I think the chances of success are low, frankly.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know
really
about
inaccurate.
that. I actually think he'll be a better pro quarterback than he will a college quarterback.
Yeah.
Because I think the system that Ohio State is running is a disservice to him.
Oh, I think the fact that you don't get experience in really reading any plays, and he is not accurate. He is wildly inaccurate. Watch the throws he made. Even look at some of the plays that he made in the championship game. I mean, they're just, chuck it and catch it stuff. They're not really throwing into a lot of small windows.
Well,
And
that's why I
Barrett has
say
the
I
arm
think
to
that-
throw guys open, and he does not.
Still think that's the. Well, no, I don't agree with that. I think he has more than the arm to do that, but I think it's more the experience thing, and that's really going to be his biggest killer. I think no matter whether he would have gotten drafted this year or next year, he's going to have to sit at least 2 years in the NFL before he's ready to play.
Be 26. 27. So? It's Brandon Weeden age.
No, Whedon was 30.
You know what I mean? It's not,
I don't think Rodgers started till he was 26.
Right. He said, 3 full years?
He's 4 years, I thought.
He did the full time at Cal, and then he did.
Yeah, but he was
3 or
at
4
Cal
years.
playing. That's a big
Well,
deal.
I'm not disputing that at all. That's what I'm saying. I think that some of the things you're talking about there, I think that comes from experience that he doesn't have. That's why I completely
guys
agree.
don't learn it. The guys don't get experience in accuracy. You either have that or you do not have that. And
Yeah,
that-
but the other thing too is if he
is
gets the right
inaccurate.
teaching and the right techniques down.
But it's not
who's
going
to
to
say-
fix that.
Oh,
The guys
come
are
on.
just accurate or they are not. And
That sounds like St. Ignatius, Glenville
It-
prejudice coming through.
It is
Big
not.
time. Yeah,
is
yeah.
not. He is not accurate. The other
You know,
guy,
there's Manziel.
he's the guy. And really? I don't think that's not Johnny's problem. Accuracy is not the problem.
I think that's part of. I don't know. That's not his number 1 problem. That is part of his problem.
I don't think that was ever a problem for him. His durability is going to be his problem.
Oh, I already said
to
that.
worry about, but
Somebody said that McCown will be injured after 7 quarters, and I said I don't think Manziel will make it that long.
He's just
I don't know.
his physique is just one that I can't see how anybody can really think
He
of him
looks
as
better.
a pro quarterback.
He looked better.
Oh, he looked better. Against
Could he
who?
really look any worse?
I don't
Yeah,
know about
that's
that, but he looked better.
The
He
bar
didn't
is
look-
so low.
He didn't look any worse than any of the other quarterbacks that finally looked like they got their head out of their butt a little bit. It was all right. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't have
Don't
picked
buy
him.
in, Chris. Don't do it.
I wouldn't have picked him. He doesn't fit into my mold of a quarterback. So I don't
think
want
he
him
fits
either.
in Anybody except Jimmy Haslam's mold of a quarterback.
I want somebody who's accurate and can read defenses. Those are the first 2 most important things. And if you don't have that, it's a problem.
That's
And
true.
I don't want
And here's the problem with that too, is most of these college high-octane offenses are not predicated on reading defenses and being accurate. They're
they run these spreads because they're easy to learn.
Exactly.
They can put in freshmen and they don't have to worry about it. So what's going to end up happening in the draft? You're going to end up either a guy's going to be a surefire like Andrew Luck first-round pick, or going to start seeing these quarterbacks getting picked in the 4th and 5th rounds because they're going to be major projects, because they're not going to have success. And the thing that tells you that is a 36-year-old guy got the Browns job. There's just not enough. I don't know if it's a crisis of quarterbacks, but there's not a lot of quality quarterbacks that are young.
Well, I mean that's the thing, because if you got to look at this too. So you mentioned Andrew Luck. Think about the last real quality quarterback to come out before him. I would say it was Rodgers, and that was 4 years before him. So
Yeah, the real elite quarterbacks, it's definitely few and far between. It's for sure.
They're just not there anymore. It's not like the 80s when every year you'd have 1, 2 come out, and they're just not there anymore.
Did Romo go to Northern Illinois, or what was the one he got to?
He was at It was either Northern or Southern Illinois.
That's the same one. It's the same one Garoppolo went to, right?
Northern Illinois.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if some of those guys don't start getting serious looks. I mean, the system they play, I assume, I never really seen their games, but I assume that the system that they play is more geared towards the pro game because they seem to be producing at least one or a high quality quarterback every 3 or 4 years.
Well, I mean, one of the things you're seeing too has what has happened with the scholarship limits for the top elite teams. They can't get these guys and have them sit, and they're going elsewhere. So you're seeing some of these quality guys saying, "Hey, I'm not gonna wait around and spend 2 years on the bench at Ohio State or somebody else. I want to play right away." Well, on one hand, playing right away helps because you get in and you start learning the game under fire. And there's some good coaches in the lower division schools, the FBS and some of the D2 schools, to the point that these guys are playing 3-4 years. Now they come into the pros, and it's not like they haven't been.
Right, speed's the only problem then.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And all they do then is they just learn how to slow the game down. They've got the talent, they got the technique, they've got the coaching, and they've got the experience.
Yeah, has Herb ever produced a good quarterback? I guess maybe
the best one is probably Alex Smith.
Alex Smith, and he really wouldn't fit into the mold of the stuff they did at Florida and Ohio State. No. They probably wouldn't recruit him.
He had a good one at Bowling Green too, and I can't think of the name.
I don't know who it was.
Played with the Bengals for a while, then they converted him to a tight end. But he ran that.
That spread stuff that
that real spread real good up in BG.
Well, that's the other thing about the OSU quarterbacks. I'm not so sure the 3 injured quarterbacks was just a fluke, frankly. Their quarterbacks take a lot of abuse, a lot of hits. Jones he got hit a few times even in the game the other day. I mean, they might luck out because they have a pretty weak schedule, so maybe it won't happen quite as much, but I was at the Michigan game, so I saw when Barrett got his leg hurt, and just normally all those runs and designed runs and that, a lot of guys get a lot of free runs on the quarterback. It's hard on a quarterback.
Well, luckily Jones is built like a tank.
It's true, but he still has knees and ankles, that are the things that go.
Well, if you saw the game, you saw they were going low at him.
Oh, yeah, I did.
They have to, otherwise he knocks him back about 10 yards.
This was at Barrett. I was there. Michigan game was when. Well,
I was talking about Virginia Tech, how they they went after him low too.
Well, they probably were trying to get down underneath him because he's so tall. But I don't know. I personally think there's a lot of hype and it's pretty raw, and then you'd be hard pressed to turn over some franchises to that guy on the first day, I think. And there might be some other guys.
I don't disagree.
There might be some other guys. I don't know. I never really watched that Connor Cook. I worry about him because the Michigan State, all those Michigan State quarterbacks all kind of seem to be the same.
Kirk Cousins, Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, they all tend to throw a lot of guys into concussion protocol too.
Well, and the other thing too with Cook is he's a big guy.
Is he bigger than those guys are? I don't really know.
He's 6'3", 220.
So yeah, maybe
so he's right in the current mode of what you want as a prototypical quarterback. And if he's 6'3", 220 now, they'll probably be able to bulk him up to about maybe 230. Work on the weights and everything, but.
Let's say he's the guy. Let's just say he's the guy.
Okay.
How flippin' miserable of a season is it going to be for the Browns to be in position to get a hold of one of these guys? I mean, these guys, we won 7 games last year, and not that that's great, but if you would have just listened to the fans, you would have thought that they lost 16 games. I mean, in order to get this quarterback, you're going to have to win at
2-14.
2 games, and it's going to be a rough time here.
Well,
I may not be able to listen to radio.
Dustin Fox today put out an analysis that I thought I had not heard before, and it was absolutely fantastic. He said, if you see that you have the quarterback out there you want to get, and let's say, as an example, it's Cardale Jones, all right, and you want to get him, what would you trade to get him? And he goes out and he says, I would trade as many first-round picks as I could muster to get him. And he said, I'll give you an example. If you go back and take a look at the last 4 first-round picks the Browns have had, they're either gone or they're sitting on the bench. And if somebody would have said 4 years ago, you traded your first 4 picks for the quarterback, and I gave me the guy's name, I can't think. It might have been Andrew Luck. I'm not sure.
Andrew Luck. It is
okay.
Andrew Luck. Mm-hmm.
If you would have gone and turned around and said, I'll give you 4 first-round picks for Andrew Luck, why wouldn't you do it?
During that season, if they just would have lost to the Colts, they would have got Luck.
Yeah, that's true too. But the point he was saying is people, they're saying you don't want to trade your first-round picks. Why not? If you can get that, if you can get capital THE, QB, then you do whatever you can. If it means packaging a bunch of first-round picks, you go ahead and get it, because how many times do you not make the move because you don't want to give up the first-round picks? And then what have you done with those first-round picks over the period of time the quarterback is now playing, and what have you lost out on?
Well,
That's the first time I heard someone say that.
Those massive trades, they've not one of them
RG3
has traded a massive amount of stuff and to get their quarterback, and every time it hurts the team. Usually because the team that's doing it is close to the front anyways, so they're pretty bad right off the bat. And the next thing is they strap themselves from giving the person any kind of support, cast or whatever with them, so it puts a big burden on the person. So I'm with you on the part where they don't draft. I'm not as hard on the drafting part as some other people are. This past draft, I think, is probably going to be one of their better ones, and I think if you look at the long term, that's what we have to have. What we haven't had is long-term consistency. Coaching consistency. I heard those guys on the radio the other day comparing GMs. You started comparing Ray Farmer to Ozzie Newsome. It's pretty much apples and oranges. Ozzie Newsome has been a GM for 20 years. He's been picking guys. If you really got his whole draft and picked and looked at the record, a good hit rate is like 50%. It's just that he had time to learn. If you start switching these guys every 2 damn years, it will never get fixed, because anybody really good at drafting either has a job or doesn't want this one. You're literally going to have to make. That's what the Ravens did. They took Ozzie Newsome on a flyer, and they just kept him. And he's learned. And
but here's the thing, Chris. Here's the big difference right here. Is that in the first couple of years that Ozzie drafted, he had Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, and I forget who the other guy was.
Yeah, but they had a better team.
But I'm saying those players, that doesn't have anything to do with the team. Those particular players right there is where you're comparing draft to. And you don't see any Ray Lewis's or anything like that. Now, Danny Shelton, maybe we'll see what Danny Shelton can do. So far, so good, but obviously hasn't played any real games yet. But that's just my point, is that those guys came out immediately, so that pumped up Ozzie's draft record right there.
Well, I don't think not every draft is the same. They're not equal. There's plenty of drafts that you get a Ray Lewis, and then it takes another decade to find another Ray Lewis. That's why they're so rare. So it's hard for you. What did they do? Pettin was on that team, right? He was on the Ravens Super Bowl team, right? So
yeah, I think so.
Second one, not the first one.
Yeah. So what do? He knows what kind of defense works. So they had Nada So why not? He went out and got his version of Nada.
Nada.
Yeah,
Right?
I don't have any issue with Shelton at all.
But it's gonna. But this
It's stuff
gonna
from last
take some time. It's gonna
I mean,
be.
No doubt. It's just it looks bad when you have your 2 first-round picks from last year can't touch the field. You just traded your 3rd-round pick for nothing.
Well, I mean, Gilbert. Here's the thing about Gilbert that I don't quite understand, which is, I mean, they picked him for his physical metrics. Okay, you look at the guy; he's big for a corner or whatever. But he played in a system where they never played. It was a fully zoned system. He never played man-to-man ever in 4 years. That's what's wrong with him. It's not that he's off the chart athletic. It's just that he never had to cover anybody one-on-one. So should they have picked him? Maybe not. But what they have to do is they have to teach him to cover people one-on-one, and that's what they've been working on. That's all that talk about your technique and all that stuff. That's all about covering guys inside, outside, reading their hips. That's all stuff you learn in college when you play a one-on-one system. But they never played that. So I don't know why they picked him, and you might be right that it's coaching arrogance probably. The coach, Pettin, probably said, look, give me the guy with these physical skills. I don't care where he played at, and I'll teach him the rest of it. And maybe, there's the one thing in the draft that they can't test. Everyone was talking about the Josh Lenz. There's no test for the heart and drive of guys. There's just no way around it. And they just picked him for his physical metrics and thought, well, we'll just get him in here and work him hard and work him into it. And they found out that his heart and drive was a mess, which is something that they couldn't really measure. And maybe it wasn't a great pick, but I don't know. Buster Skrine couldn't cover me for his first 3 years, and then they cried alligator tears when he left. So I don't think there's. I think it's time, and I heard O'Neill say it today. He said this exactly. I said this 1,000 times. The position we're asking him to play takes time to learn. So I don't. Obviously, they still believe in the guy. I don't know.
I don't think they have a choice at this point.
Well, I mean, you have to admit that we've had other, defensive backs who spent 2-3 years getting smoked on the field, and maybe they're just not willing to subject Gilbert to the same crap that they subjected Skrine to. I mean, Skrine got roasted in a bunch of games, and they got their butts kicked behind it. And maybe they're saying, well, maybe it's not such a good idea to do it.
Oh, I get it. It's just the difference between a 4th-round pick, which is what Skrine was, and a 1st-round pick.
It's true. Oh, I agree. I mean, I'm not saying that the pick is. I'm not so willing to call the guy a bust just yet. I'm just.
To this point he has been, but no, he's not done yet. I mean, he's still got plenty of time to. I mean, he hasn't even started his 2nd year yet, so yeah, he's still got time to come back. Of the two, he has a much better chance, I think, at this point than Manziel to salvage his Browns career.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It will all depend on if the Johnny part is the real Johnny part, or if it's just fake Johnny part. Someone mentioned to me the other day about his arm problem that, his arm was like they were saying, his arm was hurting since high school. One of the things they were probably doing is they were probably drugging him.
He was self-medicating
for the pain. Yeah, he was probably drugging him for the pain.
He was self-medicating. Now he went to rehab.
I don't think it was just self-medicating. I don't buy an NFL football player with a nagging tendonitis is self-medicating himself.
No, high school and college.
Oh yeah, he probably had some help.
Oh yeah, and then he got it. Then that's where the addiction came into play.
Yeah. I mean, they've never said what it was,
let me ask you this: when did you hear in anything about the fact that he had elbow problems since high school?
Yeah, when
tell me when did you hear that for the first time?
I guess maybe about a month ago.
Exactly, and that took place after he came out of rehab, and now he had to start throwing, and he couldn't do anything to ease the pain because he's now he's being monitored. His addiction was I'm going to go out on a limb and I'll say it, and I could be wrong, but so be it. I'm allowed to say things I feel like. He was addicted to pain pills.
Yeah,
to keep his arm or to keep his elbow quiet so he can play, and now he can't do that.
So he's got to. my other thing about the sore arm some of it may have also been that you figure once they took him out of the rehab and he kind of got his head on straight, he probably worked a lot harder than he threw a lot more than they would have probably wanted him to probably do. And so he came to camp already with a lot of throws on his arm that he wouldn't have had, that they were probably not expecting it. And then suddenly when they brought him in there, he was, working harder, working scouts and working extra receivers. So he was working a lot more than they probably would have prescribed. And then when the arm flared up, I mean, that might have been some of it. They were never intended on playing him. I don't think.
And the other aspect of it too is his technique is not over the because he's short.
Yeah,
because he scrambles, he can't come over the top. He's got to go 3/4. He's got to do everything he can to get rid of the ball. And obviously, as everybody knows, throwing overhand is an unnatural throwing position.
I imagine in the moment they're no longer a playoff contender, numbers-wise, whether anyone thinks. It would not surprise me a bit that they would win only 2 games. It will also not shock me if they won 8 or 9. It will not surprise me a bit at all. They won 7 last year, and at least I think they're a little bit better. Maybe they'll.
I think they got lucky to win 7 last year.
And I agree that some of it may have been the schedule, but you never know about that part. The other thing I like the Irving pick, is that Irvin or is it Irving or Irvin?
Irving.
It's Irving. I like that pick because I think they looked at their team and said, we got screwed when we lost the one guy, so let's zone in on a guy who can pretty much play any one of these positions at a pretty high level. And we'll bring them in, and we'll let that group play. And if we suffer the same injury, at least we'd have a guy who is as physically capable as those guys were. I mean, the drop-off between the next guy was so great that it really sabotaged their running game completely, and they couldn't run the ball after that. And once that happened, they were done. So I think they at least learned a little bit from something.
So you're not concerned by the fact that he couldn't beat out Greco?
I don't think
they want him to beat out Greco.
That was never up for it. Never.
No, they're positioning himself that Mac might walk, and they're going to give him as much time as possible to learn the center's position, and then that'll be his primary spot. But he'll also back up in all the other places.
Penn said he was going to on the day when Thomas and them, they have a day each one of them doesn't practice, I guess, technically. And the day that person doesn't practice, he practices in the race. So he's practicing at least one day in 3 positions.
Right.
They're doing that for a reason. And it probably has somewhat to do with Mac walking. It has probably also, like I said, they not fixing the problem that reared its ugly head last year. They lost one guy, and still they couldn't run the ball. I mean, they're not going to – I don't know how well they'll be able to run the ball, but – Crowell and West were averaging like 5 yards a carry before Mac got hurt. So I see that pick. It's not sexy, but it sabotaged their season after he went down. And at least they were smart. I mean, everyone talks about dumb there, but at least they were smart enough to address the thing and say, let's find a guy who can A, play the center position if we lose Mac, and B, play the other positions if we lose any of those guys to injury, so that we're not getting 6 inches of carry because we don't have the QB to fix that problem.
Right.
There were no QBs available really to fix the problem.
No.
Hoyer threw half the receivers into concussion protocol by game 6, so it didn't surprise me that they decided to part ways with them, frankly.
Oh, God, here comes the St. Ignatius chatter, right? Yeah, blame Hoyer because he went to Iggy.
I don't care about that, but he's not friends with Jordan Cameron anymore, I can tell you that.
Well, a couple times Cameron, I mean, he didn't do anything to protect himself after getting a ball either.
I agree, but I don't know if that's the reason or not.
Hoyer's not the only one that's given him a concussion. I mean, he's got, I think, 4 now.
Yeah.
I don't even think, is he still playing? Did he catch a ball after
he's with the Dolphins now? So.
Yeah. Was he on Seattle's Super Bowl team last year?
No. He was with the
he,
Browns last year. Still, he went to the
he went to the Dolphins in the
offseason.
Oh, he
offseason.
went to the Dolphins. I don't know. Who was I thinking? We lost another tight end, maybe, and it was to.
Oh, you're thinking of Ben
Oh,
Watson. He's with the Saints.
Benjamin. He goes by Benjamin.
Benjamin Watson.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, he's with the Saints.
Anyways, it's not a. I mean, I like to razz the guys about the concussion thing or whatever. Obviously, there was a whole bunch of things that with the Hoyer thing that we'll never know what they were. And I've already assigned myself the idea that there's a whole bunch of things that go on that we never know about.
Oh, absolutely.
And that you don't know, that you can't know. You can't know the conversations that go on between, before they sign guys and God knows what. So I'm just surprised. But I'm serious. It will not surprise me if they win or they lose. It will not surprise me kind of either way.
They could actually be an improved team and have a worse record than they had last year.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy this year based on, although it's on paper, who they're playing.
Well, I mean, like I said, if you want to, I think the only way to fix the quarterback problem is to get the bell of the ball, whoever that was. They haven't gotten the bell of the ball since Tim Couch, and any other time they've been settling for the 2 to the 6th guy in the draft or whatever, and there's a huge drop off between those guys. So you either get the Ferrari or you get a skateboard, and they got a lot of skateboards, and they just haven't been.
The thing that really bothers me more so about all of that too is the way they move up and down, manipulating draft picks and everything, and I don't ever think they get the quality for what they trade for. And they always talk about how valuable draft picks are,
except for Trent Richardson.
Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Even a blind squirrel will get a nut once or twice a year.
I don't know. I think the drafting is not as bad as you think it is, and it's not good enough. But I don't think it's as big of a disaster as it's just that you don't have changing the systems and the people a lot. It tends to make for rosters that aren't congruent in talent.
Well, that is true.
That's one thing that's like the Steelers. They always talk about, their talent goal is congruent for 30 years, and they're always trying to. They're just plugging. Belichick, same idea. His idea of the kind of players he wants is really fixed. And yeah, they don't think about when's the last time Belichick he'll give you a draft. He'd give a first round pick for 7 fifth-rounders because he knows he'll get 7 football players that he can take in his system and plug it in.
Absolutely.
The way these guys go about it, jamming and firing guys every 1 or 2 years, you end up with a 54-man roster that's really made up of 1/3 the 2 previous regimes, then 1/3 the previous regime, and then now you've got 1/3 your guys. And you never give the guy a chance to really build a whole team congruent in his system. And then everyone sits around and says, well, this guy sucks, this guy sucks. But you got, 2/3 of the guys he has this season aren't really congruent with what he wants to do, but he's kind of stuck with them because they are there, they're picked, they're contracted. I mean, how much talent can you really change in one offseason? 1/3 of the team and to change maybe?
Oh, yeah, you can.
Yeah, it's just not possible for you to flush 53 guys and come in with. I mean, could you get rid of 53 guys? You're right, you can, but you're not going to get.
You're not going to get 53
athletes that you need. And
right.
That's gonna take 3, 4, or 5 years. Guys like Belichick to show up. Belichick showed up in New England. They already had a pretty good team. The base of a team is already kind of there.
Right.
And there were guys left over from the Parcells era. There were guys that had already been exposed to what they do.
And there was still some familiarity with Belichick and Parcells. So
right.
there was, going back to what you're saying in the continuity, there was some continuity, albeit probably minor, but at least the foundation was there that Belichick knew how Parcells built a team, whether he followed it, brick by brick, but he understood it, and could then make the modifications that he felt needed for Belichick to put the team together the way he did. It wasn't standing out there and seeing a ton of bricks and trying to figure out how to build with it. There was some foundation there already.
I mean, you guys think Pettine can coach, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do.
I just think it's a slower process than we're all expecting to see. Frankly, you're looking at college football and saying, well, Braxton Miller shows up on his rookie, first day of school, and he's a stud. And why isn't that happening in the NFL? Well, they're playing, all the concentrated athletes are on one team, and they're playing in some pretty complex football scenarios that might take a little bit of time for guys to learn and adapt to, which doesn't happen in college. So when you're really looking at the football, it's apples and oranges. And you get mesmerized by, this guy's a freshman Heisman Trophy winner. I think that's one of the worst things I think that's one of the worst things that can happen to any kid.
Right.
But letting that happen was the dawn of all these, spread offenses, get somebody out there learning. It's exciting, and I understand they put butts in the seats and they want to make money and the whole thing. I totally understand that. But that kind of football has kind of made the average football fan kind of goofy, where they just don't seem to understand that the NFL game is very different and it takes a lot of work and a lot of continuity. The teams that keep changing GMs and coaches every 2-3 years are in the bottom for a reason.
And
we need to stop that.
And the other aspect of it is you keep changing, who would want to come here then?
We're already to that point. You are already to that point.
Yeah.
If I told you tomorrow you could get rid of Farmer, but not tell me who you want. Tell me who you can realistically get to take the job. Because radio guys, they get up there and talk about, we'll get Urban Meyer or we'll get whoever GM you can think of. But I'm telling you now, because of their track record, nobody that has a lot to lose is even going to touch that job with a 10-foot pole. So you're going to be back to taking a Farmer, which is a player who wants to move up to a front office, who's been an assistant GM. I mean, Farmer had all the priming that you could have that you're going to get of anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have to live with how it kind of goes. I really believe that. And then if they don't do that, they're going to be doing this same BS every 3 years. You're going to be dumping the guys, going back, and you might as well play the spread.
Well, yeah, you played it. Absolutely.
Right, you might as well play the spread because you'll be changing the whole team every 3 years anyway, so who cares if the guys get blasted?
All right, so let's look at it from a standpoint now, taking a look at your crystal ball, Chris. What do you think the season's going to be like? I'm not looking at a wins or loss, but give me how you think it's going to go, and then come up with a win-loss, and that's not the primary thing.
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh,
I didn't know he was still here. I thought he was...
I'm sorry, Chris.
That's okay. I think that you're going to have a rough season. I think it's going to be. I think you're going to see some improvement with the defense. That's the biggest thing. Is I still worry about how they're going to put any points on the board. Is what it's really going to come down to. So I think there'll be a lot of close games, but I just can't see them having enough offense to pull through. So I still think they're going to be. I'll be surprised if they win 5 games.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They're either gonna win some really close games, like I said, or they're gonna lose some really close games. I really think that they will be in a lot of games. They've been in a lot of games in the last couple years. They really haven't gotten blown out, and the roster is improved each year. So I think that trend is going to kind of be there. It's like you're just kind of figuring out how to get over that hump that the median talent just hasn't reached the point yet where you can get past that.
Mm-hmm.
So I meant what I said. I'm like, if the quarterback thing isn't going to work out, once they lose enough games, they put in Johnny. guys were laughing, but I'll grease Johnny up with some bacon grease and stick him back there and throw him to the wolves and sink or swim. You put him back there and say, all right, he's either going to get his brains knocked in or he's going to turn out to be a great quarterback because I think he's either going to be great or he's going to get killed. And if I needed to get him I need to figure out one way. I got to push him off the mark. That's probably what I would do. So that way you're either going to lose, you're going to win 2 games, and you'll be in position to get yourself a better quarterback, or you'll have proven that this guy can be your quarterback. I tend to think it's more likely to be the 2 wins than the 9, frankly. So if I was betting my house on it, I'd be taking the 2 and not the 9.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Chris with 5, and that's if everything goes good.
Yeah, it's too many.
They're talking right now that they should go a minimum of 2-1 in their first 3 games. Really?
I don't think they're going to win on Sunday.
Oh, I do.
You take a look at the other games, other teams they're playing. They're probably saying, well, Cleveland's a team that's going to be one of our W's.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Jets' offense might be worse than the Browns' offense, frankly.
Oh, I think so too. They have no quarterback whatsoever.
It's pretty bad. Ryan Fitzpatrick is. I mean, he's the classic poster of there are no good college quarterbacks coming out.
I could very well see this being a 6-3 game.
Yes, totally.
Good.
I just think our offensive line is going to allow our guys. It will not surprise me that the 2 running backs will run like crazy on those guys. It will not surprise me a bit. Crowell and them will run a fair amount.
Well, let's put it
this way. They held them back a little bit during the thing, not to put the abuse on them, because backs, they just need the holes, and I think they're going to find them on Sunday.
It's very possible. It's very possible. And let me tell you this, okay? We leave tomorrow morning on vacation. Sunday, I've already got plans to be at the Main Street Bar to watch with the Hilton Head Browns backers on my birthday, no doubt, to watch.
Why do you want to ruin your birthday like that?
Well, we can't because we can't get to our condo till 4 o'clock. I got to kill time somehow.
Yeah, I'm not putting it all on that. That's another thing I stopped doing. I'll watch, and I'm not gonna. I'm not until I'm sure that the team is somewhat better. I'm a little bit less invested. I'm just like, all right, I'll watch. I want to see what's going to happen from a outsider point of view, but I'm not going to be throwing things at the TV.
Well,
honestly,
the last couple of years, I DVR'd every game, and I wouldn't even bother. I think there were maybe 1 or 2 in the last 2 years that I actually sat down and watched live from the beginning. The majority of the times, I DVR'd it. I didn't kill my Sundays, and then I would, in the evening, Sunday evening, after whether Lynn and I did something or everything was comfortable where I can just speed through it. And yeah, I could watch the Browns game, and I would watch it in less than an hour.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you speed through it, it's easier to watch. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of me. I just like
because there's nothing there that's hooks me that I gotta watch the game, even though I know they're going to get their butts kicked by whoever they're playing, whether it's Pittsburgh or who's ever on their schedule. I don't have that burning desire to watch dread. Plain and simple. What else can I say?
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I don't think it's. I don't know. Like I said, I think the games will be close. I think that they'll be a tough opponent. That they're going to present themselves in a way that other teams are going to have to. They're going to have to show up and beat them. They're not going to be. They might lose, but they're not going to give it away. I don't think, at least in the beginning. We'll see how it wears on them, and injuries obviously are a factor or whatever. But
I think that's the part that makes it tougher, though, is that if they are in every game.
I agree. I agree that the fans have gotten far more revved up in the last 2 or 3 years because I think they've been a better team. That they've been in the games, they've been closer. When we go back, 5, 6, 7 years when we went a whole half without getting a first down. You know what I mean? I think then it's just like whatever. But when you
That was
lose the
last year,
heartbreakers,
actually.
no, it was not. Maybe the
Oh
second half.
yeah, the second
But
half
not
of the
like
season. Yeah,
not like it was 6 years ago.
Johnny only had 3 first downs at his start.
Yeah, but yeah, there have been games maybe like that. You're right, but I'm not opening day. You go back 6 years, opening day was like that. All right, their freshly picked 53 wasn't capable of getting a first down against any other. You know, their offense didn't look like an NFL offense. At least in the last 2 or 3 years, both the offense and the defense mostly looked like an NFL defense and offense. Well, some semblance of it, I guess. But fans, they live in the moment. They think, oh, it's terrible, but they don't go back. Buster Screen. They don't go back to the first 3 years. Buster Screen couldn't cover my puppy, and they let him get torched. He might as well running around out there with the Lady Liberty's torch running around. Just throw some gas on him. I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Guys,
Well, good to see Buster Screen on Sunday.
He's gonna. You know what? I have a feeling he's gonna get torched because I think those
By whom?
I think don't be surprised if they don't get.
Well, I mean, of the two, he's a lot more likely to get torched than Revis.
Absolutely. And Revis.
I mean, Revis may be able to cover all of our wide receivers by himself.
I don't think so at all. I don't think so at all. Bill is not a dummy. If Revis was still Revis, he'd be on the Patriots. I mean, hell, they gave his job to that kid who intercepted the ball in the Super Bowl.
That's true.
He was covering Brown. I mean, Bill, he watched him in practice. That's the other thing that doesn't happen is, a lot of people don't examine what the other coaches do and, think. It's like Belichick looked at him and said something was wrong. He got a lot of yards, and they had a lot of people challenge him last year that they didn't before, so maybe he's not as fast.
I don't know. Did they have the cameras in the visitors' locker room?
England doesn't pay anybody except for Brady and Gronkowski.
I mean, you're right, and it may have just been that, but I think that there was more to it.
Well, there may be. He's got an ego.
Problems, and he had ankle and knee problems a lot, so yeah. I don't think it was. That stuff catches up to you.
Sure.
Well, guys, I'm gonna pull the plug on this inaugural for the 2015 season of NC Speakeasy. Now that the summer has been done and we're coming back into the football season. Obviously, we didn't talk much on the Tribe, which is appropriate, but 1 game under 500, 4 games out of the wild card, 22 games left to go. It's still going to be an interesting September when it comes to the Tribe.
I guess they did about what I said they would do.
Well, that's true. That's true. They were far under my 90-game prediction, but like Axel says, I drink the Kool-Aid, I bathe in the Kool-Aid. And that's probably true.
Well, if I do recall, a certain someone was threatening less than a month ago he wasn't renewing the season tickets again.
Well, that's when I vent. That's when I vent. Now I'm in it for because every time I say that I get a tweet from Ryan. He says, "Dad, I'm your son. Aren't you going to will those to me?" I said, "Yes, son. Yes." Yeah. But at any rate, well, guys, it was really great kicking this back up, and I think Kate says she wants to do something like next week, so I'm not sure who's going to be scheduling. I'm going to be beaching it with my cocktails in the sun, and what more can I say? I'm going to be on vacation for a change.
Well, enjoy yourself.
I shall, and I will follow everybody closely to see what's going on. I did make a vow to Linda to de-electronic myself. I'm gonna get away from my cell phone. I'm gonna get away from my computer. I'm not even gonna take the cell phone. I usually take the cell phone down to the beach to listen to music. I told her I'm not even gonna do that. I'm gonna really try to get off of this stuff because I owe it to her to give her my undivided attention.
Okay. Well, I'll still be here with my 3 phones, 2 tablets, 6 laptops. So, I'm sure we have plenty to make up for you. So, so yeah, I'm up to 3 phones now. So.
Oh my goodness! I tell you what. All right, guys, it was good talking to you again, and don't forget, folks, you can catch us on. This will be up on YouTube, so you'll be able to catch the podcast, and hopefully you'll tune in. And pretty soon we'll be getting our regular Wednesday nights out there. This is a special Thursday night because of technical and scheduling problems, but hopefully we'll get back on track, and hopefully we'll have a lot to talk about each and every Wednesday. So, for my West Coastie, Chris Green.
Have a good night, everybody.
Be cool out there. And for my near West Sider, Chris Kidd.
Have a good night, everyone.
And this is JN out here in the land of mentors saying good night, folks, and we'll talk to you soon.